Tonight, there is blood on the steps of New York City Hall. That blood spreads to the citadel of power in the United States, from the Justice Department to the White House. That blood from two men marked for death, assassinated in a predictable, almost inevitable response to a national climate that fosters hatred and death to police. And when our leaders had a chance to douse the flames of the racial hatred and the divide that is tearing this country apart, they didn't douse the fires, they stoked them. The President of the United States.
Sometimes, you've got a police department that has gotten into bad habits over a period of time and hasn't maybe surfaced some hidden biases that we all carry around.
If you look at after what happened with Michael Brown, if you looked at what happened after Trayvon, if you look at the decision after Eric Garner, I'm being pretty explicit about my concern and being pretty explicit about the fact that this is a systemic problem, that black folks and Latinos and others are not just making this up.
The Attorney General Eric Holder wears his racism proudly, saying he knows what it's like to be a black man confronted by the police.
The national outcry we have seen speaks to a sense of mistrust and mutual suspicion that can take hold in the relationship between law enforcement and certain communities. I wanted the people of Ferguson to know that I personally understood that mistrust. I wanted them to know that while so much else may be uncertain, this Attorney General and this Department of Justice stands with the people of Ferguson.
The actions of these so-called leaders in failing to defend law enforcement, the one line of defense we have against what would otherwise be an utterly violent and chaotic society, has undoubtedly created this environment of racial tension and this climate of perceived justified hatred for our protectors. And when the mayor of the city of New York doesn't defend his own police department, two lieutenants violently attacked in a so-called peaceful protest that demands the killing of police, Bill de Blasio not only becomes derelict in his duties, but he fails in his responsibility to protect the rest of us. And he can't even admit that the police were attacked. He says they were allegedly attacked. Mr. Mayor, I know you're new at this, but you're allowing your prejudice toward police to interfere with the facts. They weren't allegedly assaulted. They were viciously attacked by your Occupy Wall Street Union-type friends chanting this. You don't even see the immorality in that. You don't even criticize the people yelling that. You defend them. Mr. Mayor, I believe in the First Amendment. We all do. But there are exceptions to free speech. You cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. You cannot incite riots. And it's about damn time the chant, "What do we want, dead cops? When do we want it now?" is outlawed. It's about damn time we stop this. And hey, Bill, stop being a wuss and start being a damn leader. But not you. You want to talk about centuries of racism and dripping with police hatred, you say.
What parents have done for decades who have children of color, especially young men of color, is train them to be very careful when they have a connection with a police officer, when they have an encounter with a police officer. It's different for a white child. That's just the reality in this country.
What decade are you living in? The police, so outraged, they created a "Don't Insult My Service" form signed by New York City cops telling the mayor to stay away from their funerals in the event they are killed in the line of duty. And ironically and tragically, within a week, In that very same Brooklyn, a newlywed and a father of two sitting in a marked car eating lunch 5 days before Christmas, shot in the head, point-blank range, execution style by a scumbag thug who proudly signaled on Instagram, "They take one of ours, let's take two of theirs," and referencing Michael Brown and Eric Garner. And don't tell me this dirtbag wasn't influenced by the permissive hatred of law enforcement by our leaders. And don't give me any hogwash that he was just another crazy. That's too easy. He was clear, he was focused, and he was egging on passersby to watch what he was about to do. And so in the hospital, where the two officers were just pronounced dead, New York's finest justifiably turn their backs to the mayor. The man who brazenly forces the ultimate race baiter, Al Sharpton, into discussions with the greatest police department in the world, New York City. The one and only Al Sharpton, a tax cheat who owes more than $4.5 million in taxes, a proven liar instigating a false tale of a young black girl raped by 6 whites, whose marches yelling "No justice, no peace" in Crown Heights, creating chaos after chaos in towns all over this country, whose response to Michael Brown decision, quote, "We lost the round, but the fight ain't over. You won the first round, Mr. Prosecutor, but don't cut your gloves off because the fight is not over," close quote. And last night, a sympathy message from Al. Al, your message is too little, too late. We don't buy it and we don't want it. But back to you, Mayor de Blasio. You're not a leader. At last night's press conference, you say you don't want to get into politics. And today you go to Mass with Police Commissioner Bratton at St. Patrick's, where the Cardinal tries to comfort the pain that so many of us in New York are feeling. And instead of speaking at the microphone set up for you outside the cathedral, you sneak out the side door. Cat got your tongue? You're the same guy who couldn't wait to tell us how you had to teach your son about the dangers that police pose and how centuries of racism are present in legal decisions that permeate our society today. And last night, you even say it's an attack on all of us, everything we hold dear. You don't hold law enforcement dear, and we don't want it and we don't buy it. You're not a leader, de Blasio. You're a coward, a classic bully, and yes, you've got blood all over your shoes. And that's my open.